Welcome to the Techne Automotive podcast, aimed at inspiring the next generation of EE-related talent to choose a career within our space, whilst also supporting the current EE talent pool in making key career decisions. In each episode, we interview industry leaders to discuss their unique career paths, advice for those starting out in the automotive industry, as well as important issues currently impacting the sector. My name is Ferris, and I'm responsible for connecting automotive businesses to the best EE-related talent. Today, we are joined by Vishal Lalwani, who has and is still currently playing a key role in INEOS's automotive business venture, which includes designing the Project Grenadier. His career journey so far has been admirable. In addition to his impressive time at Cummins Ford, he also took on the challenge of operating as a chief engineer for a brand new automotive business, as well as successfully pivoting from being mechanically biased into EE engineering focused. His story is a great example of how you can wear multiple engineering discipline hats throughout your career. In this episode, we'll explore how he built a successful career within this space, as well as his predictions for the future of the industry. Hi Vishal, first of all, welcome to the Automotive podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Obviously, with the listeners who don't know who you are, Vishal, do you want to just give yourself a quick overview of yourself?
Yeah, my name is Vishal Lalwani. I'm an automotive engineer, currently working for INEOS Automotive as the head of department for electrical systems.
Brilliant. And before we jump into your career, which is a really interesting one, do you want to just give us a quick breakdown of who Vishal is ultimately outside of work?
Outside of work, normal guy, I would say. I'm quite into my sports, team sports, into F1 and sim racing. And yeah, very, very passionate about cars, planes, outside of work and at work. My family's back in Germany. I grew up in Germany, originally from India. I live sort of between Germany and London right now. So yeah, quite a multicultural background as well, different upbringing in Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and before you went deep into the automotive industry, you've also got a family business, haven't you, that you got stuck into, if I remember rightly?
Yeah. My dad's got a jewelry and diamond business, so being part of that growing up, I was always involved a little bit into it. I've got my knowledge with it. I know sort of the business side of things as well. A little bit of business acumen I get from my dad, and from that, I guess, yeah.
Absolutely. A bit where it all started from like an educational background perspective. You speak really fondly at your time over at Loughborough. Do you want to talk through how everything started for you, from your time at Loughborough?
Yeah. So I got into uni actually, and then I was pulled out 2 weeks after that. So I had to join the military again back in Germany. So I did my military service, then rejoined uni. There's a specific course, automotive engineering. So a lot of unis offer sort of mechanical engineering or chemical engineering. Loughborough is one of the ones that had the aeronautical and automotive department as a separate department. Did my bachelor's there, did my master's there as well. I got bumped up into the master's as well. So yeah, loved it. Amazing time.
Absolutely. It gave you a great grounding. That blended with military experience, you're not going to get too much of a better foundation than that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I come from a disciplined household, I would say. But I think it just gave you, again, a bit more grounding, a bit more perspective, and also the feel of collectiveness amongst your comrades, and then later on in your work life as a team.
Absolutely. So talk us through the foundation set. How did you then start to develop your career from an early phase?
So as I said, I was passionate about cars anyway. So even outside of studies, back then just studies, very much into it. Followed the passion. There's different directions you can go into automotive, obviously. But yeah, the course really helped you to figure out which things do you like. Is it more the electronics? Is it more NVH or powertrains? Did my internship also at Cummins for turbochargers, and then got back for my master's, and then it sort of just continued with Ford, a couple of years in powertrain engineering, e-mobility, and I ended up at INEOS after that.
You end up at
INEOS.
Yeah. So you had your time at Cummins, which obviously you were more mechanically biased, weren't you, at the time?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, it was more development of compressor and turbine stage. I went a little bit into the control logic and control electronics, but it was mainly mechanical, I would say. I learned a lot of processes, started learning a lot of processes at Cummins.
Yeah, yeah. So that gave you the right process background. You then went to INEOS. What was your initial role at INEOS?
So it started INEOS actually in powertrain as well. But because INEOS was a new company, we weren't that many people. I'm employee number 34, I think. So I took over electronics as well because I had some background in it and some experience. It was a very, very difficult first year because I had both departments and both complex big departments underneath me. So yeah, I started in those two roles. Later on, then transitioned fully to the EE role.
Yeah, no, it's and the transition from straight away from starting at Cummins going through to INEOS, you're wearing nearly multiple engineering hats already. You've got really good mechanical background, EE background.
Yeah, the time at Ford was really good. I mean, again, strong foundation from Cummins, I think, in terms of processes. Six Sigma, designed for Six Sigma. I continued that in Ford with the Make, so another form of Six Sigma. Also in multiple engine projects, different car lines, expanding my horizon, and then landed that job at INEOS, actually.
INEOS. And obviously looking back through your career so far, what would you say your big flagship moments have been for yourself personally, Vishal? What you're most proud of?
I think definitely engine launch at Ford. So if you see a vehicle driving around and you can say, look, you've it's a team effort, obviously, but you've contributed to this vehicle actually driving, efficient engines. And then the next step up from that is actually the Grenadier. So just launched. If you see a Grenadier on the road, I mean, it's on a different level. That's a lot of hours have gone into that. So it's even next level up from just knowing, okay, I did the engine part of it. Here, it's on a complete vehicle scale.
You've done the full vehicle. And it's an interesting one, the Grenadier, wasn't it? Because INEOS, ultimately, are a chemicals business. So the automotive venture was completely new.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the history probably might have seen by now on the internet with Sir Jim Ratcliffe being a fan of the old Defender. But yeah, it's a new company. It's a completely new vehicle. It's really starting from a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you've concluded the Project Grenadier, you've had a great project over at Ford. You've had a really good bringing up at Cummins. So all that experience combined now, if you could go back to Vishal at 16, ultimately, what would you tell yourself based on your learnings in the industry?
Probably wouldn't change anything. I'm really happy where I am. Probably would tell myself to invest in some different stocks, but yeah, that's about it, I think. No, I mean, obviously I could have ended up at different places, but I think I'm very happy the way things had developed. Obviously, there's a right time, right place, but also putting in the effort to get to where I am.
Yeah, no, that's not good. If you look at where you've worked, and when we're speaking to a lot of people within the automotive industry, that balance of trying to get work-life balance within such a demanding sector, what's your approach been to that, and how have you managed it?
Tried different approaches. It's a bit difficult, to be honest, and it depends on your role. It depends on your company. If you're in a big established company, you usually have a lot of people for different processes. It's a complete different story in a startup. Again, employee number 34 at that time, I was doing multiple things. And not only are you working on a product, you need to develop a team, you need to develop a company. So you have to go through different phases and take different measures for work-life balance. And it's not always going to be easy. What helps me is clearly sports and sort of being out with people from work, but also outside of work, different areas. I mean, people work in completely different industries to have an exchange, a fresh exchange, fresh set of eyes. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, no, and what led you? If you go back to your grounding, and the way you're brought up, what led you into choosing a career within automotive? Was it very much luck? Was it planned? What actually happened?
I think purely passion, really purely passion. As a kid, I had my car collection. I started dismantling cars, put a little gearbox on my Bobby car. Um, it is purely passion driven. I mean, I can't imagine doing anything else at that level, because the motivation, if you're passionate about something, is just different.
Yeah, I think when you look at the success of anybody, really, it normally comes with a blend of passion, doesn't it?
It needs to, absolutely. I think the drive needs to be passion. Otherwise, I mean, if I do a normal, let's say, boring job, 9 to 5, I just want to get out of there as soon as possible, right? Whereas for me, yes, my work day ends, but the car thing sort of continues outside of work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we look at the EE industry now, and the automotive industry is going through a huge, ultimately industrial revolution. We look at software-defined vehicles as a piece. We look at the clean energy space as a piece. You've gone, or you're still on a very interesting journey self over at INEOS in regards to what's maybe coming up there. What do you see from your perspective, Vishal, coming up from a technical trends perspective? If someone's going to invest now their career another 5-10 years into this space, if we get to 2030 and beyond, what do you think is coming up from an EE perspective based on your knowledge and experience?
It's a lot. I mean, again, vehicles are sort of becoming a different place altogether. It's not just getting from A to B. It's getting from A to B more comfortably, more entertained, more connected, more safely. So, you've got things like the whole infotainment that's becoming the new unique selling point, which used to be sort of driving pleasure and engine, which, with the onset of EVs, that's phasing out a little bit. So connectivity, autonomous driving is a huge thing that's going to define companies. And you've got the normal ones, safety going on, comfort, even psychology, actually, in terms of driver behavior, driver feelings, how that engages into the vehicle, into your driving style, etc.
And is there any specific areas or technical areas that you'd recommend engineers to really hem into, or explore, getting a deeper technical knowledge of at an early phase?
I think I would still say do what you're more passionate about.
Yeah.
But definitely what is going to come up is things like cybersecurity, functional safety. As these areas are getting more complex, you're getting more and more electronics into the vehicle. So these will become even more complex in the future. That's definitely an area that's going to increase, also in terms of regulations and requirements. If you don't like it, don't do it. But, you'd still be passionate about the thing that you want to do.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And looking at the overall industry, we've talked technical, but looking at the industry, where do you see the automotive industry being in position 2030, 2035? What do you actually see happening from your perspective?
I think that there is a huge debate, obviously, still about propulsion, about the EVs being green or not. Is hydrogen then actually the better solution, or is it a balance? Or is it even better keeping engines with, e-fuels? So a lot of things are still, I think, open. And I think also the governments need to keep an open mindset on what is best, because EVs might be good for smaller city vehicles. For trucks, hydrogen might be the best solution. So that's a huge question mark, I would say. That's their propulsion. What kind of propulsion are we going to use in the future? And then, as I said, development into autonomous driving, connected driving, increasing road safety, and the overall idea of being net zero in the whole life cycle.
Yeah, no, very interesting. What's your, if you had if you look at the automotive industry, we've talked about passion, but if you're talking to future engineers, what's the reason that they should be exploring the automotive industry as a career choice, from your perspective?
I think it's incredibly diverse. So in terms of the landscape, because a vehicle is made of thousands of parts, it's hundreds of suppliers involved, from different nations, different countries, different cultural backgrounds. That's hugely diverse. Apart from that, the product itself is diverse. You could be a chemical engineer in the vehicle industry, in the automotive industry. You could be a physics guy, looking at all sorts of different driving physics. You could be into materials technology. You could be into vehicle safety, or even psychology, as I said before, in understanding behavior of people, how people use interfaces. User interfaces, infotainment is going to be huge. So how people interact with the machine, HMI, human machine interface, that is, again, very diverse. I could go on and on. There's so many different things. It doesn't stop there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's literally full of multiple areas that you can specialize in. And Vishal, what was quite interesting is you transferred into the EE world and had a dominant EE role like midway through your career. How was that transition?
So I started off, the studies, obviously, the course that I did at uni gave me the basics for a whole complete vehicle. I went into powertrain side, into the mechanical side of it, always with a bit of a tangent to electronics. And I think outside of work, I was very much into the electronics, expanding my horizon, mainly also in user interfaces, designs, and that kind of stuff. When I then had the choice at INEOS, if I want to continue in powertrain, which is something that I knew inside out and I was very comfortable with, or if I want to continue with the electrical department, that was a big question for me, because you want to perform in that position. You can't allow yourself to not perform. But I took the challenge and I don't regret it at all, because I just see a lot more future again there, because of the uncertainty on the propulsion topics, what we just discussed. But I took on the challenge. It wasn't easy. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of learning on everyday basis. And one more thing that is really amazing, and I would say all of engineering, not just automotive, but especially in automotive, it's not repetitive work. You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a key message, that, isn't it? And I think you have to have that mindset to go into work with, to learn every single day.
And I think that's also the motivation. I think people or human in general don't really like repetitive work. It's where we lose focus, where we lose concentration. So if there's a new, different kind of challenge, I go to work and I know, yes, you have to set meetings and everything, but it's a new challenge. And then, the next product that you're developing, you might go through the same phases, although you're still developing that as well and improving that. But the product might be something completely different, much more advanced. So it never gets boring.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, if you take yourself back to university, and certainly there's the ability to be exposed to projects and tasks at university where you have to work as a team. I think one of the hardest transitions for some people I've seen is actually realizing that the automotive industry, it's reliance on high performing teams and teamwork, because you certainly can't design a vehicle from ground up on your own. So,
Absolutely.
I know it's something you wanted to discuss, the importance of being a team player, and why is that, Vishal?
As you said, it's a huge product, or if you go into aircraft as well, or in general engineering, because of the diversity, again, that's there, it takes a lot of people from different backgrounds, different specialists to actually create that one product. Communication is key. You need to be able to express your ideas, but also understand the views from the other person and evaluate them rationally, right? Don't bring in the emotions like, oh no, this is my idea, I want to do it. No, you need to be rational. You need to look at the bigger picture. You need to look at, who are we making this product for? Yes, I can make an off-road vehicle, but I like driving on tracks, so I make it sporty. It's like, no, that's not the purpose, right? The purpose is to build a hardcore off-road vehicle. So it will have things that I maybe don't like because I like tracked vehicles. It's just an example, but it's that knowing how to work in a team, also direct a team if you're in that position, and accept ideas, but also express your own ideas in a way that everybody understands it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Vishal, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you.